Have you ever questioned the fundamental assumptions that shape your worldview? Is the worldview that we've been conditioned to accept far more restrictive than we ever realized? If the implications of a materialist worldview leave you feeling depressed and anxious, you are not alone. In the early 1980s, psychologist Charles Tart designed an experiential exercise called the Western Creed to explore these very questions. The Western Creed isn't a religious doctrine, but rather an exercise designed to illuminate the pervasive yet often invisible materialist beliefs that underpin our society. It's about shining a light on those beliefs and challenging us to confront the implications of a purely materialist perspective. Tart explains that many of us have been hurt by what we believe is science, by the power of beliefs like those expressed in the Western Creed. It's not the essential method of science that has hurt us, writes Tart. Rather, it's scientism, a materialistic and arrogantly expressed philosophy of life that pretends to be the same as essential science, but isn't. To try Tart's exercise yourself, listen as I read the text of the Western Creed, and at each pause allow your feelings to surface. The goal isn't intellectual analysis, but emotional awareness. Try not to analyze the words intellectually, just allow your feelings to rise to the surface and become aware of your bodily and emotional reactions as I read to you. I believe in the material universe as the only and ultimate reality. A universe controlled by fixed physical laws and blind chance. I affirm that the universe has no creator and no objective purpose, meaning, or destiny. I maintain that all ideas about God or gods, enlightened beings, or other non-physical beings are superstitions and delusions. Life and consciousness are totally identical to physical processes and arose from chance interactions of blind physical forces. Like the rest of life, and my consciousness have no objective purpose, meaning, or destiny. I believe that all judgments, values, and moralities, whether my own or others, are subjective, arising solely from biological determinants and chance. Free will, even my own free will, is an illusion. Therefore, the most rational values I can personally live by must be based on the knowledge that for me, what pleases me is good, what pains me is bad. I affirm that there are no objective sins to commit or be forgiven for. I maintain that the death of the body is the death of the mind. There is no afterlife, and all hope of such is nonsense. Listening to the stark pronouncements of the Western Creed often evokes a visceral reaction. The image of a vast, indifferent cosmos where human existence is but a fleeting accident is the essence of the materialist perspective. It's a worldview that reduces life to a series of chemical reactions. If this is all there is, one might ask, then what's the point? The insidious nature of materialism lies in its pervasiveness, shaping our thoughts and perceptions without us even realizing it. Our education system and media reinforce a materialistic worldview. Materialism becomes the default setting of our minds, shaping our values, priorities, and aspirations. Listening to the Western Creed, the great majority of people experience a profound sense of sadness. Typical responses are, "By the end, I found myself wondering if people really believe this way, why do they stay alive? I'd just rather not be a part of this reality, and I have a sunken feeling in my stomach." It's a stark reminder of the bleak implications of a purely materialistic worldview. Materialism is deeply ingrained in Western culture, but is also largely invisible, and many are therefore also shocked to find themselves agreeing with much of the Western Creed, even though they do not consciously think of themselves as materialists. Like a fish that doesn't know it's in water, we navigate our lives often unaware of the pervasive influence of materialistic thought. Invisible beliefs are powerful precisely because they are invisible. They cannot be challenged, because they are not available to conscious scrutiny. When a particular worldview goes unexamined, it transforms from an idea into an ideology. When beliefs become deeply embedded in culture, it can be difficult to imagine alternative perspectives. By bringing these beliefs to the surface, the Western creed allows us to examine them more critically. As Rupert Sheldrake points out in his book, The Science Delusion, these beliefs are powerful, not because most scientists think about them critically, but because they don't. The belief system that governs conventional scientific thinking is an act of faith. Given the implications of the materialist set of beliefs, the viewer may wonder why scientists, who should be the most critical of all, cling to it so tenaciously, even when quantum physics and parapsychology present evidence to the contrary. Part of the answer is that most scientists are not taught that the tenets of materialism are unproven assertions. They simply take them for granted as facts about reality. Few scientists are taught that materialism is an assumption. Most simply think of it as science or the scientific worldview. Since they're not actually taught about it, they are not given a chance to discuss it. In Sheldrake's words, they absorb it by a kind of intellectual osmosis. When students are not explicitly taught about something as important as the philosophical basis of their subject, nor given a chance to discuss it, it begins to sound more like inculcation than education. Fewer than 20% of science students study the history and philosophy of science. Most scientists therefore remain unaware of its influence on their own assumptions. The result is a narrow, rigid education that leaves its recipients unprepared for crises and unacquainted with the philosophical basis of their field. This, as Thomas Kuhn pointed out, is strikingly similar to the education received in Orthodox theology. Now, one might wonder, why does this matter? Well, when we don't acknowledge the assumptions underpinning our understanding of the world, we limit our ability to question, to probe, and to grow. We treat anomalies not as counter-instances, but as oddities to overlook. Later on, we shall see that this is not the only parallel between science and orthodox theology. The proponents of competing paradigms in both fields operate in different worlds. A law that seems intuitively obvious to one group may be utterly incomprehensible to another. To truly communicate, one group must experience what Kuhn called a paradigm shift, a sudden, profound change in understanding. However, such a shift is not easily achieved. Because it is a transition between incommensurables, as Kuhn noted, the transition between competing paradigms cannot be made a step at a time, forced by logic and neutral experience. Like the Gestalt switch of the Necker cube, it must occur all at once or not at all. How then are scientists brought to make this transposition? Part of the answer is that they are very often not. Rupert Sheldrake draws a further parallel between science and the Roman Catholic Church, noting the striking similarity in their claims of monopoly, universality, and absolute authority. At the dawn of the Reformation, the Roman Church lost its monopoly, but science still holds its ground as a single universal entity. And Joseph Campbell's observation about religious orthodoxy applies equally to scientific orthodoxy. Both are primarily concerned with maintaining a certain social order, instilling a system of sentiments into every member, in defense of which, according to Campbell, all deviants are to be one way or another either reformed, deformed, or liquidated. This dogmatic rigidity puts science at risk of becoming another religion if it hasn't done so already. Both science and religion loudly proclaim their pursuit of truth, but often treat their beliefs as untouchable truths with which no one should tamper. In doing so, scientists limit the pursuit of knowledge beyond a certain point. It is understandable to a degree that scientists should want to retain an existing paradigm. Changing a paradigm is like retooling a factory. It takes a lot of work, and it has to be worth the effort. If there are still questions that can be asked within the old paradigm, then there will be natural resistance to the adoption of any new paradigm. On top of that, scientists may have spent whole careers conducting research under an existing paradigm, and therefore be heavily invested in it and loath to discard a life's work. But these points notwithstanding, it remains the case that when an overwhelming body of evidence accumulates, all pointing away from a given paradigm and towards a different one, an intellectually honest person must allow him or herself to follow where it leads. Instead of tripping over the carpet, scientists must find the moral courage to lift it up and face head-on all the evidence that lies beneath. As we journey through this exploration, we will find that the materialistic worldview is not only restrictive, but also profoundly unsatisfying, offering a life devoid of objective purpose, meaning, or destiny. The question then is whether we're willing to explore the possibility of a reality that transcends the physical. Charles Tart's Western Creed exercise is a powerful reminder of the pervasive influence of materialistic beliefs on our lives, but that is not the only perspective. What if there is more to reality than meets the eye, an alternative view that promises a more fulfilling and meaningful existence? Emerging discoveries in fields like quantum physics and parapsychology challenge the fundamental assumptions of materialism. These findings suggest that consciousness plays a more active role in shaping reality than previously thought. The journey beyond materialism is about cultivating a spirit of open-minded inquiry. It's about recognizing that our current scientific models may be just a glimpse into a much grander and more mysterious reality. Quantum physics offers a tantalizing glimpse into a reality that defies the simplistic materialistic framework. The idea that particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously challenges the foundation of materialism. Quantum physics proposes a reality where consciousness and matter are deeply intertwined, inviting us to reconsider the role of consciousness in the universe. In earlier centuries, classical physics reigned supreme. The universe was a grand, deterministic machine where particles of matter collided and interacted in mathematically predictable ways. It was a universe where every cause had an effect and every effect had a cause. Everything, from the dance of celestial bodies to the humble tumble of a pebble, could be calculated and foreseen. The universe, in this view, was a clockwork marvel, and consciousness, mind, and spirit were relegated to the sidelines, not factoring into the elegant equations that described our reality. By the twilight of the 19th century, this was the paradigm that scientists devoted their lives to. The laws of classical physics, as articulated by Newton and Maxwell, seemed to provide a sound mathematical foundation for the universe. The cosmos appeared thoroughly predictable, and physicists felt tantalizingly close to unlocking the mysteries of life and consciousness within this framework. Like the pre-Copernican astronomers before them, they felt confident that their paradigm, materialism, was complete and correct, until, that is, the anomalies began to show up. The first anomaly was the failure to detect the ether, the supposed medium through which light waves propagated. The second was the enigma of black-body radiation, the observed discrepancy between theory and reality when it came to the absorption of radiation by a perfectly black body. Physicists were confident that these two problems could be resolved within the framework of classical physics. But as fate would have it, these minor clouds transformed into a storm that shook the foundations of classical physics. The failure to detect the ether led to Einstein's theory of relativity, and the problem of black-body radiation paved the way for quantum mechanics. And so the stage was set for a groundbreaking shift in our understanding of the universe. The deterministic clockwork universe of classical physics was starting to look shaky, as the probabilistic reality of quantum mechanics began to challenge its assumptions. This was a universe where particles could be in multiple places at once, where observers influenced the observed, and where the future was not set in stone, but existed in a superposition of possibilities until observed. There was an inherent unpredictability in the motion of these particles, and this unpredictability resided in the particles themselves. It was not a limitation of the physicist's equipment, but a fundamental characteristic of reality. This went against the materialist axioms of determinism and causality, which stated that every event must have a definite cause and be fully predictable, at least in principle. But quantum events are not predictable, not even in principle. At the most fundamental level, reality was not obeying the deterministic rules that materialism demanded. Its axioms were being violated. At the subatomic level, reality was not behaving as it should. Fast forward to today, a century since the dawn of quantum physics. The shift from classical physics to quantum mechanics has been truly transformative, reshaping our understanding of the universe. Yet, the spirit of materialism remains dominant, creating a schism in science, an apparent discrepancy between the macroscopic world, where consciousness is said to play no role, and the quantum realm, where it does. Quantum field theory posits that the universe isn't made up of tiny, discrete particles, but is instead an intricate network of fluctuating fields of energy. These fields are not static, they are dynamic, constantly shifting and changing. What we perceive as particles are actually excitations or vibrations in these fields. Imagine a calm sea. Now, think of a wave forming. The water molecules themselves aren't moving across the sea, but the energy is, creating the wave. Similarly, quantum particles are like waves in the sea of quantum fields. They are not solid, massy, hard, impenetrable entities, as Newton once postulated, but processes interacting with other processes. The implications of this view are profound. It suggests that there is no ultimate building block of matter, no bedrock level of reality to which everything can be reduced. Matter, wrote the philosopher of science Karl Popper, turns out to be highly packed energy. The results of modern physics suggest that we should give up the idea of a substance. The universe now appears to be not a collection of things, but an interacting set of events or processes. Everything in the universe at its most fundamental level is energy. It's like a grand symphony, with each particle a note that resonates in harmony with the universe. But the plot thickens. Quantum field theory also challenges the deterministic view of the universe. Quantum events, it seems, are not strictly predictable. There's an inherent unpredictability, a randomness that is not simply a limitation of our measuring tools, but a fundamental characteristic of reality. This is a startling departure from the materialist axioms of determinism and causality, which assert that every event is predictable and has a definite cause. Instead, at the quantum level, reality appears to be dancing to its own tune, free from the deterministic rules. Even more intriguing is the role of consciousness. Classical physics assumes a distinct separation between the observer and the observed, with reality existing independently of our consciousness. But quantum physics suggests a different narrative. The act of observing, the choices made by an observer, can alter the physical events in unpredictable ways. Consciousness, it appears, is not a mere byproduct of materiality, but an integral part of the quantum picture, a requirement in the creation of these tiny particles. The physicist Fred Alan Wolf described the situation this way: classical physics holds that there is a real world out there, acting independently of human consciousness. Consciousness, in this view, is to be constructed from real objects such as neurons and molecules. It is a byproduct of the material causes. Quantum physics indicates that this theory cannot be true. The choices made by an observer alter the real physical events. Consciousness is deeply and inextricably involved in this picture, not a byproduct of materiality. It's now been over a century since the pioneers of quantum physics first unveiled the strange and counterintuitive world of the subatomic realm. Their discoveries shattered the deterministic, materialistic paradigm of classical physics, revealing a reality that is far more mysterious, interconnected, and mind-boggling than anyone had imagined. Yet, even after a century of groundbreaking research and technological advancements, the full implications of quantum physics have yet to fully penetrate our collective consciousness. Why has this paradigm shift been so slow to take hold? Why do we still cling to outdated models of reality, even when confronted with the overwhelming evidence to the contrary? Part of the answer lies in the inertia of established institutions, the weight of tradition, the power of entrenched beliefs. But there's another factor at play, a factor that often goes unexamined: the fear of the unknown. Quantum physics challenges not only our understanding of the physical universe, but also our understanding of ourselves, our place in the cosmos, the nature of reality itself. It suggests a world where consciousness is not a mere byproduct of matter, but a fundamental aspect of existence, a world where our thoughts and intentions have a direct impact on the fabric of reality. For many, these implications are simply too radical to accept, too disruptive to our deeply held beliefs about the way the world works. Yet the discoveries of quantum physics are not going away. They continue to be validated by experiments, refined by new theories, and integrated into technologies that shape our daily lives. The challenge now is to bridge the gap between the scientific understanding of reality and the human experience of reality, to find ways to integrate the profound insights of quantum physics into a more holistic worldview that acknowledges both the spirituality of the material and the materiality of the spiritual. Charles Tart's Western Creed serves as a stark reminder of the limitations we often inadvertently impose upon ourselves. We are born into a world steeped in materialism, where the tangible and the measurable reign supreme. Yet, as we've journeyed through the realm of quantum physics and the history of scientific thought, we've glimpsed a reality far grander, far more mysterious, and far more interconnected than the purely materialist paradigm allows. The Western Creed, for all its stark pronouncements, can be seen as a catalyst, a springboard propelling us toward a more expansive and fulfilling understanding of ourselves and the universe we inhabit. It challenges us to confront the limitations of a worldview that reduces the richness of human experience to a series of chemical reactions, a worldview that struggles to accommodate the awe-inspiring beauty of a sunset, the transformative power of love, or the profound insights of a life well lived. The journey beyond materialism is not about rejecting science or embracing blind faith. It's about cultivating a spirit of open-minded inquiry, a willingness to question our assumptions, to embrace uncertainty, and to explore the frontiers of knowledge with both rigor and humility. It's about recognizing that our scientific models, while impressive, are still works in progress, constantly evolving as new discoveries illuminate the vastness of what we don't yet know. It's about acknowledging that the universe, in its infinite complexity, might forever elude our attempts to confine it within the neat categories and predictable equations of a purely materialistic framework. It's about embracing the mystery, the awe, and the wonder that lie at the heart of existence. The quantum revolution, a century in the making, has shattered the deterministic clockwork universe of classical physics, revealing a reality far stranger, far more interconnected, and far more pregnant with possibility than we ever imagined. Yet the full implications of this revolution have yet to ripple through our cultural narratives, our educational systems, our social structures, and our very understanding of what it means to be human. We stand at the cusp of a new era. An era where the boundaries between mind and matter, observer and observed, are blurring. An era where consciousness is no longer relegated to the sidelines but recognized as an integral player in the unfolding drama of the cosmos. It's an era where the seemingly impossible might not be so impossible after all, where the frontiers of human potential beckon with the promise of unexplored capabilities and untapped reservoirs of wisdom. The invitation is clear: to step beyond the familiar shores of the materialist paradigm and embark on a journey of discovery, a journey into the heart of the quantum realm, a journey into the depths of our own being. It's a journey fraught with uncertainty, to be sure, but also brimming with the thrill of exploration, the joy of discovery, and the potential for a more expansive, more interconnected, and ultimately more fulfilling experience of being alive in this extraordinary universe. The choice, as always, is ours. We can cling to the familiar shores of the known, finding comfort in the seemingly solid ground of a materialistic worldview, or we can embrace the quantum leap, diving headfirst into the swirling sea of possibility, ready to surf the waves of a reality far grander, far more mysterious, and far more wondrous than we ever dared to imagine.